Well, good afternoon and welcome back to this session, this episode of Discover Lounge. Glad that you're with us today. Hey, we talked a little bit about last time using our time, and today we're going to be talking about using our talent. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, what that looks like, what that is, all those other wonderful things. So stick right with us. We will be right back in just one moment. Time, talent, and treasures are the 3 T's of utilizing yourself in the realm of the church. And that's what this segment of Discover Lounge is all about. Utilizing yourself, your God-given talents, your God-given gifts, and yes, they are different. They complement one another, they connect to one another, but they are different, and I'll get into that in just a few moments. So today we're going to start off on looking at the second T of time, talent, and treasure. It is the second of the 3 T's, big 3 T's. It deals with the utilization of what we like to do. What do I mean by that? Well, we use our talents because we like to use them. We use our talents because they're fun. We use our talents maybe in sports, music. We use our talents in the context of serving. There's so much, but it's usually, not entirely, but usually revolving around what we like to do. And for us here in the church, it is the usage of our skill set for God. That's another word that I want to throw out there in the context of talents. So that's kind of where we start from right at this moment in time. So talents, what are they? What is the opportunity that God gives to us to utilize those things? What are gifts? Well, let's start diving into that, shall we? So we'll flip the screen here and move on. Talent, talents, also referred to as skills, traits, gifts. Now, this is not within the framework of the church. This is outside the church. For example, have you ever heard or have used, or it has been used towards you as you are gifted? You are gifted. You're such a talented musician. You're such a talented baseball player, soccer player, football player. You're such a gifted speaker, orator. Fill in the blank. Most times people, when they see a supremely talented person, and when I say supremely talented person, I'm talking about people who, without a lot of training, without a lot of rehearsal, without a lot of development, just shine. I'll use as an example in the music world, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. This was a child prodigy. He was writing music when he was 8, 9, 10 years old. He was an extremely gifted musician, both for composition as well as performance. Everybody called him gifted. I'm going to like to change that a little bit to refer to that as extremely talented. Is it a gift? That talent of music or that talent of anything else? Yeah, it's from God, and we'll get to that. But there are things that are gifts that are different than just, say, a musical talent. So what does the Bible say? Well, first of all, the Bible uses the term gifted to describe gifts that God gave each Christian that are not, and I put this in quotation marks, natural. It's not a natural skill set. I mean, in other words, God does not refer to a person who is an extremely good electrician as gifted. He does not refer to an extremely good musician as gifted or an athlete as gifted. There are gifts that God gives that don't come from our natural human desire, our natural human ability to develop and the like, but they can be used in concert with one another. The gifts that God gave are to be used in our Christian lives for the sake of others. This is also the major difference. And we're going to get into the differences between gifts and talents. Gifts are given to by God in order that you use them not for yourself, not for your own gratification, not for your own pay, not for your own skill set or competition. Gifts are not used for that, but they are used for the building up of other people. As well as talents can be used for the sake of others, but it's not exclusive. In other words, it's not for me. Gifts are to be used not to glorify me or other people, but it's to glorify God. And that's where we're going to get into gifts like prophecy, gifts like mercy, service, gifts like administration. And there's going to be a whole other series of videos on just these, what is called spiritual gifts. And God gave these gifts to the church. God gave these gifts to his people so that they will be used for the building up and edifying of other people, like pastors and teachers. That's a gift for the building up of other people. So now let's take a look now in the context of these distinctions. So the difference between gifts and talent. A gift is what we were given when we were reborn. A gift is what we were reborn with. That's better said. Anyway, a gift is what we're reborn with. What do I mean by reborn? When we became a Christian. When people become a Christian, God imparts what he wants us to have. God imparts that at our rebirth. Now, a talent is what we were born with and or built it by training. A talent, now a gift can be honed, absolutely. It can be used in specific areas, but a talent is more exclusively built by training. I was just watching a video a little bit ago today about a football player on my favorite football team, and the training that they were showing he was going through is insane. Well, what is that for? Well, it's for a football team. It's for the team to win a Super Bowl or whatever. It's that gift. No, he catches a ball really, really well. Yet at the same time, it's a talent that was honed, built up. A gift is given by means of God's grace. This is another big difference between gifts and talents. Now, I have underneath there charis and charismata. Well, charismata sounds an awful lot like charisma. Well, here's the fun part. The word charis is Greek. Both words are Greek. Both words are used in the New Testament. Both words are used to describe God's gift. Now, charis is grace. The grace that God gives to us because of Jesus and what Jesus did for us. It's a free gift of new life that God has given to us. That's what charis is. Charismata is what is translated as gifts. Charismata is a grace-based gift. So it is used because it is grace-based gift, and it is used for the other people because we want to give grace away. A talent is a physical work that is developed and trained. Now, let's look at it this way. Let's kind of come back at this for a second, okay? A gift is charismata. God-given, grace-based. A talent is honed and skilled. All right, let's use you as an example for a minute. Now, you have talents. Let's say you have a talent to work with your hands. You're a very good carpenter. Were you always a very good carpenter? No, you had to work at it. You had to be trained at it. I remember one carpenter, a guy that I knew about. In the beginning, he couldn't do it, but near the end, with training and development, he could. Now, what's the one thing he could do? He could take a nail and a hammer, and eventually to put the nail there, put it in the spot, and with one swing, drive it all the way through. He couldn't do it in the beginning. It had to be trained. He had to be honed. He had to be modified to be able to do that. That's a talent that is workable. A talent is something that you do that you may not necessarily are gifted for. For example, I'm not very gifted at driving, but I do it. I have to work at it. It's not something that I like to do it, but it is not something that I absolutely positively enjoy. That's where a gift comes into play. A gift is something that God gives to us where I absolutely enjoy it, especially when I am putting it into use with God and for God's people. That's a very rudimentary distinction between the two. There's a lot more that we can go in. If you have any questions, always pop the question up there and I'll respond to your questions. But there are differences between talents and gifts. Each and every one of us as Christian people have both. That's the fundamental thing. We have both. So let's kind of continue here with our outline. So both are used for the sake of the church. Now, I put that in quotation marks because the church is not limited to an organization like Faith Lutheran Church. The church is, as defined, the people of God who believe in Christ Jesus. That's the church by means of definition. So, yes, the church is in specific locales, specific organizations. It is specific to a proximity. And the big picture of the church is that the church is invisible. It's all over the place. You can be a part of the church and no one would really know if you are or not. So both are used for the sake of the church. A little bit of a biblical definition sidebar there a minute. Both are used to build up and raise up people for God. If I ask you, let's say you are a whiz with, let's say, electronic media, and I ask you if you would be willing to use your skill sets in electronic media, pardon me, I kind of didn't hit the right button there. There we are. And if you use your skill set in electronic media, would you be willing to help me out? That's my question to you guys. Let me know if you would. What gift might cooperate with that skill set by working with social media? Well, there's one that I can think of off the top of my head. Being an evangelist, a person who tells people about God. That comes and it flows from a person. Now you can do it verbally, you can do it communicationally, you can do it typing wise. The possibilities of telling people about Jesus are endless. But if you are interested in wanting to use your skill set to enhance the church by reaching out to other people through social media, electronic media, and the like, that's using both and. And that's really what I want to get at, is God has given you both skill sets, talents, things you've trained, things you've used, things by trial and error you have made better, and the gifts that God has given to you, the passion, the desire to use that for the sake of God to tell other people about Jesus ultimately. That's what we do. That's using both of them. So as we kind of finish up here a little bit. So both to build up and raise up people for God, and to give God the glory, and to build up people with God, which I said earlier, but mainly to give God the glory. To let people see God. It's not about me, it's not about you. So, as we wrap this time up today, what can you do? Hey, that's a great question. Here's 3 points that I would like you to consider, prayerfully consider. Spend time in finding out what your gifts are from God. Now, what I can do is, if you're interested in finding out what you are gifted at, I can send you what I've used. I've used this inventory, and we can talk about it. We can set up a whole, if I had time, to be able to set up a whole new playlist just on spiritual gifts alone. But if you're interested in finding out what your gifts are, please let me know. What can you do? Spend time using your skills, talents, and gifts for God. You have a wonderful propensity to utilize what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, for yourself and for your edification and for your family and whatever. But why not spend time using your skills, talents, and gifts for God, for His glory, and for the edification of other people in the process of helping them to know Jesus? And then the third thing, what you can do, is seek opportunities to serve on behalf of God. Now, we've talked about time. We've talked about talents. Next time we get together, we're going to talk about the treasure mode, the financial side of things. All of these pieces, all of these T's, are designed for you to be an active disciple. Now, we've gone over a few things, and I don't want to rehash anything that we've already gone over. You can go back and watch previous videos if you have any questions about, let's say, what is our ministry? Why are we here? All these other questions. But ultimately, what I want you to consider is using what God has given to you, gifts as well as talents, for the church, for the building up and raising up of present and future disciples, because that's why we're here. All right, any other questions, comments, thoughts, please let me know below, and we'll kind of come back to them and answer those questions if you have. Look forward to seeing very shortly today the next episode of Random Thoughts. Also, look forward to seeing you on Sunday. This is Pentecost Sunday coming up. We've got a wonderful thing happening, apart from acknowledging the anniversary of the arrival of the Holy Spirit to the church. But we also have 2 young men who will be confirming their faith in Jesus that Sunday as well, this coming Sunday. So please be with us, and we will talk at you real soon. Bye-bye.